but yet they will repeat it as if it is scientific fact, while conveniently ignoring scientific facts and laws like, thermodynamics. Also, they can feel better about themselves and cope with the idea that they don't want to lose weight. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Katie, and for those of you who don't know me, I used to weigh 360 pounds, and I've lost 180 pounds and kept it off for years now. And on this channel, we will discuss weight loss, weight maintenance, nonsense I see online about body positivity and fat acceptance, my experiences with all of that, and, well, anything else I feel like talking about. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into today's video. I actually haven't even had much time to prepare a whole lot for these videos, so we're going to continue on the series that I did last time, and I'm just going to go through a whole bunch of these older clips that I have that never were quite enough to make their own video, and then that way I can go ahead and clear them off my hard drive, and hopefully we can blow through a whole bunch of clips today. So let's dive right on in, and I'll give you my reactions along the way.
I watched a video where an anti-diet fitness coach was talking about how intuitive eating is the reason for the obesity epidemic. This is because a lot of people think that intuitive eating is literally just eating anything you want. And for people that engage in long periods of what they want are all of the foods that diet culture has told them they need to never have. And that's not intuitive eating.
Okay, and that's our friend, Anti-Diet Pilot. So, friend, what is intuitive eating? If that's not it, then what is it? I mean, because quite frankly, I've looked it up numerous times before, and yeah, that was kind of the vibe that I got from it, that you were supposed to eat what you wanted in as much quantity as you wanted, and that, magically, eventually your body would get sick and tired of junk food, and that you would have some healthy balance that you'd find or something. That the only reason that you were wanting all of the sweets and the junk food was because you had not allowed yourself to have it previously. But here's the thing. I never found that balance. Never. Never. On the way up to 360 pounds, I had full-blown food addiction. And I know that there are people out there that don't believe that that's a thing, but I know for a fact that it is. And I would just say to those individuals, I'm very glad that you've never had to experience it, but it is as real as any addiction that there is. And you don't have to be addicted to an addictive substance. Yes, there is that route, but people can get addicted to so many things. You can get addicted to gambling or shopping or applying chapstick or walking around with your water cup, or there's just so many things where the behavior itself can become addicting. And that is often what I experienced with food addiction, especially because I was so many times partaking in just absolute junk food. We're talking ultra high processed foods and fast food. So very little nutrition. That was my entire diet. I know previously, I believe I had listed an entire day of eating when I was at the height of my food addiction, but let me just go ahead and run it down real fast. Most mornings I would leave the house with no breakfast, just raw dog it straight to work. Occasionally, I might swing through a fast food drive-thru and get a sandwich and an orange juice. But most of the time, I just go sit at my desk for maybe an hour or so, and then go hit up the vending machines in the break room, where I'd get something sweet, get something salty, get myself a 20-ounce bottle of pop. Go back to my desk, sit there and eat on that all morning. And then, what do you know? It's lunchtime. So we'll just say that I brought my lunch with me to work that day, and we'll just say it was a microwave frozen pizza. Usually I did the lean cuisines because I thought I was going to be healthy with this, right? Then I'd go back to the vending machines, get another bottle of pop, get another something sweet, and typically another something salty. Go back to my desk, just sit there over my lunch break and eat at my desk. Usually about afternoon break, maybe an hour, hour and a half after lunch. Well, that was time to go back to the break room, go hit up the vending machines again, get another bottle of pop, another sweet, another salty. And this doesn't even account for anything else that may have been in the office that day. If there were donuts or it was somebody's birthday and there was like a potluck or something, that doesn't account for any of that. I would have had that on top of these things. And this would be all before I left work. I would have had 60 ounces of pop. I would have had probably 2 or 3 candy bars, 2 or 3 bags of chips, maybe a bag of cookies or a bag of crackers or something like that. And then oftentimes on the way home from work, I'd swing through a drive-thru and pick up just a snack, which was a medium value meal. So, a sandwich or nuggets or something, and then like a medium fry and a medium drink. That was my snack. And then, of course, promptly dispose of all of the wrappers and all the trash as soon as I got home. And then it was time for dinner because that was just my snack. So we'll just say it was pizza night. Okay, that means I was going to get a large pizza all to myself, probably an entire 2-liter of pop to myself now, and then maybe some breadsticks, maybe like one of those giant cookies or giant brownies. And that and the breadsticks, I probably would have split with my ex-husband, but the pizza and the 2-liter, that was all mine. And then, well, now we need a midnight snack because, well, dinner was like 3 hours ago. I'm still not done yet. And then we'd go hit up one of the drugstores by our apartment, and then whatever they had on special for their candy was what I would buy. So if they had their candy like 3 for $2 or 2 for $4 or whatever the deal was, that's what I would buy. So I might walk out of there with another 2, 3, 4 candy bars, something like that. Then something salty again. And well, now I should probably think about my health, and why don't I get an entire half gallon of chocolate milk? Or, if I was a little full from dinner still, let's just go ahead and get the quart. That was so much food. That was so much money. And at no point did I ever get my fill. At no point did I ever reach a point where I was like, hey, maybe I could cook dinner at home tonight. Maybe I could pack an actual lunch for work and not just some frozen meal that I was going to supplement with the vending machines. It wasn't until I decided to make actual changes in my life that I was able to make the steps to help break all of that. And part of that was because I reached complete and total rock bottom. I lost a car. I had the electric shut off at the apartment we were living at, and then eventually we lost that apartment. All because of my food addiction. And so when I hear intuitive eating, that is all I can think of. And I can understand why so many others would go to that. Because when I read up on it, I read a lot of different definitions on it, a lot of different ways that people might have tried to utilize it. But I will say, I don't hear people talk about intuitive eating in body positivity or fat acceptance anymore. I really just don't hear them talk about it. And it is kind of fun when we go back to some of these older TikToks to see if they are still sticking to those talking points, or like this one, if it may have evolved some. So let's go ahead and check out this next one.
I would like to talk very quick about something that annoys me, and I'm going to call it thin-splaining. It's the idea that fat people, have no idea how to be thin, and that's why we're fat. So people, or that we just don't understand health, and that's why we are the way that we are. So they want to add their tips.
Okay, and this is Abby Hoy, and this video went viral several years ago now. Do believe I have used a couple of her clips in other videos, but I don't think I've actually reacted to any of her full videos yet. So yeah, I can understand why people might assume that fat people don't understand or know how to be thin. I know I didn't, at least not properly, until I actually achieved it for myself. It's one of those things I had to do in order to gain that experience. And, quite frankly, I had to figure out what worked for myself. And that's what I tell everyone else as well, that you have to find what works for you. But often in body positivity and fat acceptance, they tend to act as if fat individuals just can't achieve it. It's not that they don't know how, it's just not possible. They'll say it's not a choice. So, yeah, I can understand why people might think that fat people would not know or understand how to be thin. I understand that that's not always going to apply to everyone within the group, but I can understand where that comes from, at least.
It's not appropriate to talk to your loved ones about their body or their weight gain or loss. And some people are like, what if I want to talk to my partner about it because health risks run in their family? It's their family. Who told you about the health risks? Do you think they don't know? Why do you need to talk to them about it?
Because sometimes people are just doing their same habits and routines every single day, and they're not noticing the difference because it's a slow and gradual change. Other people may notice that. They might notice it far before that individual who's experiencing it notices it. I also went through that as well while I was gaining weight. I didn't really always notice that I had gained weight until, oh, I need larger clothes, or, oh, I can't do the thing I used to be able to do, or now I can't tie my own shoes. I mean, those were the ways that I kind of clocked it for myself. And all the while that I was gaining weight up to 360 pounds, even though I was noticing those things, I was trying my damnedest to cover those things up and not let anyone else see that I couldn't tie my own shoes, or that I was having trouble getting off the couch, or that just walking upstairs was leaving me winded. I was trying to mask that so hard because I didn't want other people to notice and talk to me about it, because once they did, it was going to make it real. And I have to be honest, when I was at or real close to my heaviest, it was the Christmas right before I finally reached my known heaviest weight, started making changes in my life. And that was Christmas of 2007. So the before pictures that I've used plenty of times, that was this day. And on that day, my mom had made a comment, not directly to me, but to my brother. And my brother let it slip that my mom was concerned about my health. And there it finally was. Somebody finally said it. And I had to admit it to myself. I couldn't stay in denial any longer. And even though it took me several more months to finally get to a place where I felt like I was going to actually be able to stick with changes and go forward with that, that is a moment that I'll always remember, because again, I could no longer stay in denial. And part of the reason that what my mom had said stuck so much with me, not that long before that, I saw what had happened when my dad died very suddenly and unexpectedly. It was not great. It was not fun. I don't recommend it to anyone, that's for sure. And if there's any way that that could have been prevented, don't you think we would have wanted to do something about that? So if my mom sees that she thinks I'm going to head down the same path as my dad, don't you think she should say something? And then if we're going to talk about our partners, I mean, presumably these are the individuals you're going to want to spend the rest of your life with. Your best friend, the person that you do everything with, the person you want to laugh with, the person you want to cry with. Don't you want them to be around for as long as they can be and be in good health for as long as they can be, to have a great quality of life while they're alive? I mean, wouldn't you want that for any of your loved ones? Let alone your partner?
I made a video where I said you can decline getting your weight taken at the doctor's office, and so many people jumped in to say, unless you have anesthesia, unless you're getting a prescription for medication, unless it's this, unless it's that. And I'm like, fat people know when it's medically necessary. Stop. I made a video.
Do fat people go to medical school? Or is there like some fat person's school that I just never attended where I would have gone to the class that would have let me know what determines what's medically necessary or not? I mean, what an unhinged statement to say. Oh my goodness. They're going to know when it's medically necessary. Now, I believe the doctor is going to know when it's medically necessary, so...
Video saying that there are no diseases exclusive to fat people, which there are absolutely not. And people want to say, it can actually be a risk factor for other diseases, like we don't already know. People have literally...
And I do believe that's the clip that I've used previously from our friend here now, because yeah, there is a disease that is exclusive to fat people, and I've mentioned it numerous times on this channel, and I know most people don't know about it, and I know they'll never acknowledge it. It's called obesity-induced asthma. It's literally in the name. The obesity induces the asthma. And I know I've explained this previously, but it's a completely different mechanism that drives this type of asthma versus traditional asthma. In traditional asthma, you're going to have inflammation and constriction in your bronchial tubes, and you're not going to really be able to get air into your lungs. Where with obesity-induced asthma, yeah, you really can't get air into your lungs, but it's for a very different reason. It's because there's so much visceral fat built up on your chest that it makes it really difficult for your lungs to expand and contract. Ask me how I know about this? That's right, I had it at 360 pounds. And even just losing 30 pounds and getting down to roughly 330 pounds, that made a huge difference for me, and I was able to breathe easier and get a deep, full breath for like the first time in what felt like months and months at that point. So yes, there absolutely is a disease exclusive to fat people. I mean, of course, if we're going to ignore the fact that obesity is a disease, but absolutely, these things exist. And yeah, of course, these risk factors are incredibly real. This would be like a smoker coming on here and saying, well, other people get lung cancer. Well, yeah, I get it. You don't have to smoke to get lung cancer, but let's look at the statistics, shall we? So yeah, it always feels like this addict mindset where they're always trying to justify their behaviors and ignore the consequences of their actions and what the potential outcomes might be.
Really been saying this shit to me since I was 7 years old. I know. I don't need your helpful input.
So it sounds like she does know, but I would go a little step further and say it sounds like she may have trouble applying it in her life then. It's one thing to have all this knowledge, but what good is it if you're not going to utilize it? So this is something I've seen repeated in fat acceptance, especially, where they'll say, we know how to lose weight. We know how to do this. We know how to do that. We know when things are medically necessary. Really? Because it seems like a good number of them within these movements have a difficult time utilizing it and applying it. But let's go ahead and check out this next one.
Actually, babes, then you don't support body positivity. That's the whole fucking point. Actually, in its original creation, it had nothing to do about health.
All right, and this is our friend Fierce Fat Femme. She is responding to a comment that reads, "That doesn't make any sense. Why would you promote being unhealthy? I totally agree with body positivity as long as it is healthy." All right, well, let's go ahead and see if our friend explains why body positivity has, quote, nothing to do with health.
You know what I'm saying? And also, how do you know someone's health by just looking at them? Huh? And I would love to see, and I would hope, because I'm assuming things here, I would hope that you have the same energy about health around COVID and that you're still masking.
Wow, I can feel the condescension dripping off of my phone right now. And this video is over 2 years old. So we're just going to point out that she's still railing on about masks and COVID. So I'll just go ahead and leave it at that she was still going on about that last bit in 2023. And then she mentions that you can't tell people's health just by looking at them. And look, I understand you can't always tell people's health by looking at them, but sometimes you can. Sometimes you absolutely can. When people saw my grandpa with his seeing eye dog or his red and white cane, they could easily distinguish that he was blind. When people see my husband's client in her wheelchair, they are able to put 2 and 2 together. If I break my leg and I'm on crutches, there are plenty of visual indicators there, aren't there? If somebody is super morbidly obese and carrying an extra 150 to 200 pounds on their body, it's pretty obvious. So I understand you can't always see what you've got going on the inside. Believe me, most people would not look at me and think, wow, she's got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But I mean, that's just how it goes. I totally understand that. But this notion of you can't ever tell people's health by their appearance, that's just inaccurate. You can't always, but there are plenty of times you can.
Are you still masking? Anyways, I'm just really tired of the retired argument about like health, because again, what's your definition of health? Whose type of health? Are you going to therapy? We're talking about emotional health, or we're talking about everyone's full-bodied well-being? So you don't support body positivity if you're going to play health politics. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, and I find it very ironic that we went from this back in 2023, that you don't support this if you're going to play health politics, to all the way now, they're telling people to stay fat as an act of resistance, and that being fat is a bold political statement. It's amazing how things can change in a couple of years. But one thing that is consistent, they're still flippant about their health. Unless they're telling people to check their mental health or go see a therapist, which I really, really want to point out the irony of her making those statements while she made all of those voices to respond to a genuine question. But let's go ahead and check out this next video and see how much more madness I can take today.
I often encourage people to reflect on the reasons why they want to lose weight. And one thing that I commonly hear from people who are currently fat is that they want to lose weight so that they will stop being discriminated against because of their weight.
Okay, and this is a new friend. This is Aubrey Hoffer, and from my understanding, she is a therapist, and I do believe she is specifically a fat therapist. I could be mistaken on that. If I am, just correct me down in the comments below. But really, discrimination? Discrimination. For that word to come into play, I'm going to need to see some sort of laws that have ever been or are currently on the books that ever prevented fat people from buying houses, living in certain neighborhoods, getting employment, marrying who they want to. We have plenty of examples with other groups who have been discriminated against or are currently facing discrimination. But fat people? Really? Especially when overweight and obese individuals make up over 2/3 of the population and are in the vast majority? How on earth are they discriminated against? Now, is she trying to conflate rude comments or mean looks as discrimination? Or somebody not wishing to be in a relationship with you? Is she counting that as discrimination? Because I'm just trying to think of any example that I have literally ever heard involving fat individuals being denied anything and it rising to clear the high bar that she set by using the word discrimination.
I understand why many people feel this way, and ultimately it's up to you to do what you feel is best for your body. But I do also think it's important to say that people won't inherently treat you better just because you lose weight. Like, yes, you might have that experience of, like, strangers being more friendly to you or being flirted with or something else that comes as a benefit of, like, thin privilege.
Oh boy, there's that term, thin privilege, which I have to be honest, I hate that term. I don't really even think that it exists in the way that they describe it personally. And the thing that really drives me the craziest about it is the fact that they turn around and call it a privilege. And that rubs me the wrong way for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I didn't become thin accidentally or overnight or was just born into this body. Had to work my ass off. Literally. Had to work my ass off to gain this body in return. Many people have to work hard to achieve the body that they have or to maintain the body that they have. And when you call it a privilege, it sounds like it's just something people were inherently born with, that they did absolutely nothing to achieve it. It was just handed to them. And I know none of this was handed to me. I had to put in the work. I had to stay dedicated. I had to stay consistent. And none of that gets just handed to people. And then she talks about how strangers might be more friendly to you, which I haven't personally noticed a discernible difference from when I was at my heaviest to when I was at my thinnest, when I got down to 145, to where I am currently now, somewhere between like 185 to 190. I don't notice a discernible difference in the friendliness of strangers, personally. And part of that may have something to do with where I live. I live in Northeast Ohio, which is a part of the Midwest. And, well, the Midwest, we've got a lot of stereotypes about us. And one of them that I find to be fairly accurate is we're typically pretty friendly. We're going to smile. We're going to say hello as we walk by. We're going to hold doors for people. That's just kind of what we all tend to do. So I definitely haven't noticed any difference on that aspect because, I still live where I've always lived. So I do think that may have something to do with it, as well as the fact that, I worked customer service for pretty much my entire career when I was working. So I've learned how to talk to people, to be friendly with people, to smile at people, make eye contact with them. These are all things that I've just learned over the years with customer service. So I'm always friendly with people. Like always. So I think that in many cases, what you project, you'll receive. Some people might tell you it's that you're more confident once you lose the weight. And there may be some truth to that, especially on a case-by-case basis. But personally, when I project friendliness, that's when I receive it in kind. And then we're going to talk about getting flirted with by strangers. I know I've talked about this before, but it's been a minute since we've addressed this. So she talks about this as being a benefit. And I guess that would be a benefit if you want to receive it. Personally, I could care less. I'm married and been with my husband for over 16 years now. And quite frankly, whether or not anyone else finds me attractive, it's kind of a moot point. I only care that he finds me attractive. And I'm never in doubt on that. So getting flirted with by strangers, it can be a little dicey. Most people that I let down, they were very gracious about it and incredibly respectful, and that was the end of that conversation. However, there were always those occasions where you might have an individual who didn't take no for an answer. They did not treat it respectfully. They kept pushing, and sometimes these situations would get really scary and intimidating, and especially in those instances, that's not a benefit. So a lot of times the way I hear them talk about these situations, it doesn't really line up with my experience first and foremost, but also it really makes it sound like losing weight is going to be a really big benefit for a lot of people if those are the things that they were struggling with. So let's see what else she has to say on this.
But when it comes to like the actual relationships in your life that have value and matter, if those people are not treating you with love and respect right now, they will not do so if you lose weight. I'm sorry if you feel like you have to lose weight to be worthy of love and respect. You already are worthy.
And this is where I don't disagree with that statement at all. Everybody is worthy of love and respect. However, when you see somebody who is not taking care of their health and they're letting their weight spiral out of control, are they showing themselves that they are worthy of that love and respect? And if they're not willing to take care of themselves, then what signal is that sending to everyone else? And this doesn't mean that it's acceptable to treat people poorly by any stretch of the imagination. But again, what you project, you often receive. So if you want people to think that you are taking care of yourself, you might want to actually show that you are taking care of yourself. But let's go ahead and check out this next one.
Doctors should not be prescribing weight loss. Why not? Because it's an irresponsible way to treat a patient. How is it irresponsible? When a doctor prescribes weight loss, they're prescribing a treatment with a 5% success rate. Hold on, 5% success rate? Is it really that bad? Yeah, and no other treatment with a 95% failure rate would be prescribed at anywhere near the rate that weight loss is. So what should doctors do instead? They should be focusing on the symptoms that their patient is actually experiencing and giving treatments that they would give to any thin person experiencing those same symptoms.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this is our new friend, William Hornby, whom I'm sure you've probably seen on other channels. I just haven't actually gotten around to reacting to a full clip of his. And he is well known for his ability to stare into the camera for minutes on end and evidently not blink a single time. First off, I really am not a fan of these fake conversations that people do to try to set up an argument, because people don't actually talk to each other like that at all. I have never heard a conversation in my life that sounded like that, unless it was like a really terrible community theater and they just didn't rehearse and they're just reading off the scripts. That being said, I see he is using the standard argument of 95% of diets fail. And no matter how many times it's been disproven, no matter how many times people debunk it, it seems to be the one talking point of fat acceptance and body positivity that just will never go away. It's been around since I was a kid. I've heard this my entire life, and this was filmed in 2022 and it's 2025 now, and I still hear it. I've seen so many creators try to debunk it. So many creators break down all of the flaws in the studies that were done that came to these conclusions in the first place. I've seen so much of this, and it still just will not go away. And the reality is, the notion that 95% of diets fail is a total myth. An absolute and total myth. But yet, they will repeat it as if it is scientific fact, while conveniently ignoring scientific facts and laws like, thermodynamics. Also, they can feel better about themselves and cope with the idea that they don't want to lose weight. That being said, I think that's where we will leave it today. I don't think I can do any more clips in a row today. We did, 5? I think that is my limit. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of, anything that we discussed in this video today? Let me know down below. I'm genuinely curious, and I love reading all of your responses. That is where we'll leave things today. I thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye! So I gotta say, it feels good to be back filming. It's been a couple of weeks since I actually filmed that last video that I just posted. It took me a hot minute to finish editing and posting it and everything, and looking back, I realized I went from posting every week to, I think I only posted one full video last month. So probably should give you guys just a little quick life update, because oh my goodness, have I just been so busy. So we've been having stuff taken care of around the house, fun adulting things like having our trees trimmed, having plumbers here, and just other things around the house. But the fun thing we got to do around the house is we finally got some pool weather around here, and we were able to go ahead and get our pool set up and all ready to go for the summer. But in order to do that, of course, there was going to be a project for this, and that required me moving a literal ton of dirt. Literal ton of dirt to try to level out the ground underneath where we're putting our new pool, since it's so much bigger than our old one. And when I say a literal ton, yes, 2,000 pounds of dirt. Thank goodness it was all bagged and I didn't have to try to shovel it into a wheelbarrow or anything, because I don't think my poor hands would have handled that. But I was lifting it 40 pounds at a time and throwing it into wagons and then having to go dump it. And of course, we picked like literally one of the hottest weekends of the year. So I'm out there in like 95-degree heat doing all of this, just absolutely sweating buckets, and doing it after one of my races that I had last month. So very fun, but so rewarding, because now our pool is up. It's fabulous. We've had so many pool days now, and oh gosh, all of that work was totally worth it. And I just kept reminding myself every time I lifted up one of those bags of dirt that I get a pool at the end of this. I get a pool at the end of this. And now I have my pool, and it's been absolutely lovely. So definitely been working on that. As I said, I did have one of my races last month, but actually I had 4 races in the last 5 weekends. So last Saturday was actually the first Saturday I got to sleep in all the way till like 7. It was pretty amazing, especially compared to like the 5:15 or 5:30 I have to get up for on race days. But I did complete 4 races. I had a 7K, 2 5Ks, and an 8K. But I did pick up some hardware for my troubles, including one of my favorites, the actual cowbell. So that was a lot of fun. And I got to say, this 8K, my goodness, it was in the low 80s and like 80% humidity as we did this. That's just under 5 miles. And it was disgusting outside trying to do this. Like, I had sweat coming from places I did not even know you could sweat from. It was, oh, so gross outside, but I'm so glad that I did it. And now I've got a nice little break through July. And oh yes, if that weren't enough, I got a new car. Well, not new, but new to me, and that's all that counts. I haven't had my own car in over 2 years, so this has just been a game changer for our family. I am so excited. I can do fun things like go to the grocery store now, take our stuff to the laundromat and go do laundry on a regular basis. All things that my husband was trying to do for us while he was working 7 days a week because he always needed the car. So this has just made things so much easier and opened up so many more fun things that we get to do. Like, my kids don't know it yet. I'm keeping it a surprise for them. But this Friday, apparently the Wienermobile is going to be in town and they're giving out weenie whistles and people are going to come get married in front of the Wienermobile, and we're going to go try to get weenie whistles and cheer on people in front of the Wienermobile. So I think that sounds pretty fun, but all sorts of just random stuff like that we wouldn't have been able to do without this. And then this past weekend was the 4th of July, which if you celebrate that, I hope you had a wonderful weekend because I know we sure did. And it wasn't just a 4th of July celebration in my city. I live in Akron, Ohio, if you can't tell by some of the things in the background. But Akron is actually celebrating its bicentennial this year. And then on top of that, the Goodyear Blimp is celebrating its 100th anniversary. So it's been a lot of festivities all over the city this year. And this weekend was all of them. So the fireworks, concerts, parades. It was so much fun. We had the blimp flying overhead during the entire parade. Oh my gosh, just so much fun. And then we had more picnics, set off our own fireworks, and then went swimming. Just so much fun all weekend. So again, feels good to be back filming. And hopefully now I'm going to be on a little bit more of a set schedule. Pokey. Hi, baby. Yes, sweetos. How are you? Do you want to go swimming in the new pool? Yeah, what do you think? Should we get you like a little floaty and you could just rest your little paws on there and float in the pool? I would never do that in a million years for about 1,000,001 reasons. First off, these are all indoor kitties and I never let them outside. Second off, all my kitties still have all their claws. And third off, I don't have a death wish, so... Yeah, we'll just go ahead and leave you inside in the air conditioning. What do you think, babies? That sounds good? Bye!